Today we're going to be unboxing, setting up, and reviewing the SteelSeries Stratus Duo for Windows, PCs, Chromebook, Android, and VR headsets. This is a very interesting controller and does have some very premium high-end components such as Hall effect, magnetic sensors in the triggers, and thumbsticks. However, at the end of the day, this controller is going to be a flop. Let's get it. So SteelSeries is primarily known for their cans or gaming headsets, much like Turtle Beach, who recently entered the controller market with the Recon controller, which I was able to preview on this channel before it was released to the public. But now SteelSeries wants to dip their wick into the controller market with the Stratus Duo. Why is it called Duo? Is it because it's just you and your controller? No, it's because this has dual means of wireless connectivity, a 2.4 gigahertz dongle, which I strongly recommend you use if you do take the wireless route, or Bluetooth. You will get better battery life with Bluetooth, however, it is a slower and less consistent means of data transfer. And then of course you can go wired via USB-C. And this is usable for 3 platforms: Windows, Android, and VR, or virtual reality headsets. However, we're primarily going to be focusing on this in the capacity of a PC controller. Now, it does only work with Android, not iOS, as of making this video, but it is compatible with many VR headsets, including standalones like the Oculus 2, as well as PC-based headsets like the Rift, HTC Vive, and Valve Nutbuster. I don't believe that's the model name. I believe it's called the Valve Steam Goggle or something. Steam Link? No, I have that in the closet. That's something else. Index. It's the Valve Index, that's what it's called. So a lot of orange branding on here, as you can see. Little display of the features here. You can always pause the video if you want to read the back of the box. I don't know how to read, so I'm going to move on with the unboxing. Oh boy, looks like I won't be returning this thing for full credit. It's got a loose giblet now. Awesome, so this is a box inside of a box, or as I like to call it, box inception. Made a weird little noise, kind of a little squeaky Pete, because it was more or less vacuum sealed in there. There was literally no air between this box and that box, so it's kind of hard to get it out. You have to give it a little bit of a tug job. I always love to look at the marketing slogan for these companies, and this one is Rise Up. Your game's down here, sucker. I need you to rise up, Mark, before you approach me. Or if you want to compete with the big dogs, it's time for you to rise up. Or she greeted me properly in the morning, and I had no choice but to rise up. Rise to the occasion. And then you have a little bit of branding down here in the bottom right corner letting you know this is from SteelSeries and the model is Stratus Duo. You get your fingernail under this flap on the right hand side, pull up. You will see you have some foam in here holding your controller in place for its journey to you. You have the 2.4 gigahertz dongle. It's short, which is great. I prefer these over a long USB stick because I like to plug these dongles into the front of my tower vice taking up one of my USB ports in the rear. I don't want some huge USB stick of gum looking ass thing hanging off the front of my tower looking ugly and also potentially could get knocked off. But the housing on this one is actually relatively thick with 3 C's, as you can see. I do like that it has a little bit of texturing here, which will make it easy to grab and pull out. And then of course you have your controller. Stick 1 or 2 fingers in the hole, dealer's choice, and pull out, and you will have your accessories in the bottom. Accessories, I mean documentation. Now, if you've been around the channel a while, you know I'm a bit of a connoisseur snob when it comes to instruction manuals, pamphlets, and brochures. It's kind of hard to get into. I'm gonna have to dock it a couple of points for that. There we go. Gotta be smarter than the packaging, I've always said. Stratus Duo for Windows, Android, and VR. So basic black and white, however there is a lot of orange color pops in here because that is their branding. English is the primary language, however it is a relatively small font, so if you don't have the eyes of an eagle, or perhaps you're geriatric like myself, you escaped from the retirement home, you might have a hard time reading this thing without your goggles. So there's really only about 2 or 3 pages of instructions, and then it goes into additional languages starting with Espanol for our brothers on the other side of the border. Oh geez. Oh boy. Oh, golly jeepers. Okay. I just wanted to jump in with the fit and finish and how this plastic feels on my hands. Not good, by the way. But I actually recently came up with a structure for all of my controller reviews that I now follow. So let's go ahead and follow the rules. Give me a second. So this retails for $60 US, and it is for sale on Amazon and occasionally physical stores such as Walmart. Now for $10 more, you can get the Smart Grip Bundle, which I do recommend if you are going to be using this for mobile phone use, clamping your Android phone in there, that you do opt for that. And that attaches to the top and allows you to have your cell phone off the top, as opposed to having to set up your phone with its pop socket or prop it up against a book and then Bluetooth your phone to it like that. However, since I'm using this for PC, that $10 accessory means nothing to me. So how about the warranty? According to their website, it's technically 1 year. However, they word it in such a way to where it seems as if you have to make your claim within 30 days of receiving the product. And it also says it only covers manufacturing defects, literally nothing in the means of wear and tear. So no stick drift, no scrapes, no dents, no evidence of it actually being used, meaning you take it out of the box and something's gone awry. Some of the face buttons are stuck, stuck or you get stick drift perhaps right out of the box, then you're able to claim it as a manufacturing defect. But the way they word it on their website over here makes it seem like it's going to be more of a pain in the ass than it's really worth to get your warranty honored on a $60 controller. Not saying $60 isn't a lot of money, it just seems like it's going to be a real pain in the tuchus to get SteelSeries to really honor their warranty. As for a couple of unique quirks and features of this controller, according to the box, this has a range of 40 feet. 40 feet. I'm just trying to think of somebody actually doing controller testing in a laboratory, standing 40 feet away from a cell phone, looking like a dot across the room, waiting for this thing to lose connectivity. The next one is the triggers in this device actually use magnetic Hall effect sensors, which is pretty rare for controllers. We'll talk more about those in a bit. Next up, the box claims you're going to get 42 hours of battery life if you're using the 2.4 gigahertz dongle, but 14 hours with Bluetooth. That seems like that should be reversed, considering generally Bluetooth is going to give you a better battery life, but at the cost of response time, introducing a little bit of input lag or delay. But this is getting substantially more battery life when using the dongle, which is what I recommend you do use, so that's interesting. And last but not least, for an interesting quirk or feature, it is mentioned directly on the box that these thumbsticks are designed to have a minimal dead zone and buttery smooth operation. And that is because the thumbstick modules, much like the triggers, are using magnetic Hall effect sensors. These generally feel better, are more accurate due to having smaller dead zones and more accuracy in response. But more importantly than all that, unlike the typical Alps thumbsticks, which are mass-produced and used in damn near every controller, the Nintendo Joy-Con, the PS5 DualSense, these are far less susceptible to stick drift. Is it possible they will develop it over time? Yes, but far less likely. Because of how it works, it's using magnets that break connectivity to cause interference, which cause the movement in your thumbstick, as opposed to typical thumbsticks like the Alps, which inside the housing have a little bit of carbon that gets scraped off every single time you move the stick. Not to mention it is very easy for dust, skin dander, pet hair, any kind of debris to get inside those modules and clog them up over time. So that is by far the best feature of this controller, is the fact that it has magnetic Hall effect sensors in the triggers and thumbsticks. Let's get her on the scale and see if she's been skipping any meals. She has not. 245 grams. That is pretty heavy. But how about the ergonomics? Measurements are on screen here. I'm 5'11", pretty average size hands, I would say. There's no such thing as average hands, but I'm gonna claim that I have them. Ergonomically, this does feel very good. This molded shell design feels good shape-wise. As far as the actual texture, this feels like some incredibly cheap plastic. Listen to this. This is made out of partially paper mache. Not great. There's no rubberized grips on here or anything, and this plastic feels so parts bin specially. It feels cheap as shit in your hand. Also, clicking down L3 and R3, i.e. pressing down on the analog sticks, or thumbsticks I should say, has a very hollow, tinny, echoey, rattly sound, most likely because of the cheap plastics they use in the front and rear shell. That's not confidence-inducing. And the plastics on the bumpers and triggers is even worse. Which sucks, because the actual mechanism inside the triggers is that magnetic Hall effect sensor, which is good, but the plastics really ruin the feeling. Now, as for long-term durability or a quality control reputation, there simply is none. There's very few reviews of this bad boy online, and especially here on YouTube, because this is a very niche controller, because it is only for PC and Android, and VR. So no Xbox, PlayStation, or Nintendo Switch use. So there hasn't actually been enough reviews, or enough people aren't really buying these for there to be a reputation built up like the Elite 1 and 2 for having quality control issues. Now, I will say real quick, I wish this came in a couple different colorways, or at least a white version, because they do sell white headsets. These are SteelSeries here, by the way, as you can tell from the branding here on the side. So it'd be nice if this came in maybe a gray or white, but this flat matte black is all you're gonna get. So as for the face buttons, that includes the D-pad, the action buttons, share options, basically anything you can press on the front minus the thumbsticks. D-pad actually feels really good. It is a membrane design in there, so there's a rubber plunger under there, and you can kind of tell when you press down that it's flexing on the top, and when you press left, it lifts up on the right. So it's a little bit mushy, but overall it does feel very good. Except pressing up. For some reason, up feels like it doesn't want to press down for some reason. That's weird. So the center button is okay, but the share and options button over here are actually very hard to hit because it's sunken into the front shell. And if you have some big, thick old meat hammers for thumbs or any fingers, it's actually kind of hard to hit these buttons because they're actually sunken into the shell. So you have to like use your fingernail to press them. Those are terrible. Those need to be raised up a few millimeters out of the shell. Face buttons, A, B, X, Y. Satisfying, clicky. They're not mechanical or anything. They're a membrane, but they feel very standard to a factory or OEM PlayStation or Xbox controller. Nothing to write home about, but not bad either. Thumbsticks. Well, first of all, they are incredibly short. Like, very, very short. And that's primarily because this is going to be used for mobile use as well, so they assume maybe you'll toss it in a backpack or a laptop bag, take this thing on the go, and then Bluetooth it to your phone. So to make it more mobile or portable, they have very short thumbsticks, which means you're not getting a lot of leverage on there. Do these work with control freaks? Good question. If I find an answer, it'll pop up on screen right in front of my face. But I do like the rubber or silicone compound that they are using on here. Very, very grippy, and they are a concave shape with a little bit of lines or etching for grip around the outside. There is no anti-friction rings around the outside, so this will grind along the rough plastic of the front shell, but it's not too bad. And again, you only notice that if you are at full lock. Triggers and bumpers. I'm not a huge fan of the bumpers, or R1, L1, I should say. They have a really mushy, hollow feeling. They are quiet, which is good, but they just don't feel very satisfying. And like I mentioned earlier, the plastics that they use on the triggers and bumpers aren't fantastic. Now, as for the triggers, they are a relatively short pull, which isn't great considering it's not a trigger lock system you can turn on and off. It's just they're short all the time. So if you are going to be using this for racing games, which again, this is marketed towards mobile gaming. So racing games is actually one of the highest played categories or genres of games on phones, of mobile gaming, is racing games. So you're not going to have a lot of throttle and brake modulation where you can feather on that gas and brake. That's not great. They just don't feel very good. It's a combination of the shitty cheap plastics on here, short pull on the triggers, and then just a hollow thunky feeling in the bumpers. So not a huge fan of the triggers and bumpers. Rear buttons or paddles. This controller doesn't have them. We can move on. So getting this paired to the PC is very easy. If you are taking the wired route, you're going to use this micro USB cable. I would like to see USB-C, but hey, we're still rocking micro USB here. Then if you're going to be connecting to a cell phone or VR headset via Bluetooth, you are going to have it on this dial here. However, flipping this lever over here, you are going to see this wireless logo. Doesn't show up very good on the camera, but it will be green. And then you will flip this power button to on and plug in that 2.4 gigahertz dongle to the front or back of your tower, which I'm pinching right now. And the status lights in the front of the controller will pulsate back and forth and finally rest on one when you are paired. Well, one, assuming that you only have one of these controllers paired up. If this controller had some type of a software suite online where you could control things like stick dead zone and remapping buttons, I would showcase that here. However, there is no software program or software suite for this controller. One neat little feature about this controller is when you first power it on, those status lights will actually show your battery life. As it's flashing on 1, she's on low battery. And then it will go solid, letting you know if you are player 1 through 4. I kind of doubt anybody's buying multiple of these controllers. I don't really think very many people are buying even one of these controllers. Now, this is on the SteelSeries website, and as you can see, this controller is already being sold for $42, which, by the way, is $20 cheaper than Amazon. So this definitely shows you the value of shopping around or looking at multiple stores or platforms before making your purchase, because that's a third of the price off. This is kind of a heads up or a little behind-the-scenes sneakaboo, how do you do, that this controller is not selling very well. We saw the same thing with the Valve Steam controller, where they were selling it for $5 on their website to get rid of it, because it simply was not selling well. And I do believe that this controller is an utter flop. I haven't heard of anybody in the gaming community buying these controllers, and that is for a couple of reasons. First of all, there are better options for a PC controller. Virtually any controller can be used on PC because there's driver support for it. If you own a console, go ahead and plug in your PlayStation 4, 5, Xbox One series, Nintendo Switch Pro controller into the front of your PC tower. It's going to make a couple of beep bop boop boop noises out of the front of your tower, and then it's going to link up with some kind of plug and play drivers. You don't need this controller for PC use. Okay, so what about mobile phones? If you're just looking for a controller for mobile support, there's a bunch of cheap generic controllers for about $20 on Amazon that do the same thing as this controller. So I can't really find a niche or demographic of gamers that I can recommend this controller to. Now, a couple things I want to showcase or point out on the landing page for this controller. This is a cool accessory that it has this little clip where you can mount your phone in there. I do like the fact that it has 3 modes of connectivity. You have wired, which, I mean, every controller has wired support. It's how you charge the sucker. Or you can use a 2.4 gigahertz dongle, which is my recommended means of connectivity, or you can use Bluetooth. So if you are connecting it to a phone or VR headset, you have that method. I do like that feature. I genuinely do. Now, this is good marketing here. When they mention a specific game, if it works with Fortnite, this should most likely work with virtually any phone game, but they pick out one of the most popular mobile games. And then right here, this one just kind of tickled me in the gamer giblets in the wrong way. Steam enabled. No more hunting for drivers and software. to recognize your controller. Easily play 5,000 plus controller-enabled Steam games. Okay, nobody's hunting for drivers and software. Like I mentioned earlier, it is as easy as plugging in a controller to the front of your tower, and Windows does the rest and finds the drivers and installs them automatically. Steam does the same thing. When you launch into big picture mode, which is their console-like experience, it's going to detect what controller you have, and not only is it going to work, they're actually going to give you community keybinds and stuff where you can download different keybinds for that controller for different games. So this is just dumb. This doesn't make any goddamn sense. And I also feel like the Hall effect magnetic sensor triggers is a waste on this controller because not very many people are going to buy this controller, and this is kind of a waste of their build cost considering they could have made this controller probably 30 or 40 bucks as opposed to 60, because this is by far one of the most premium and probably most expensive features and components in their controller. Hall effect magnetic sensors, which are using in the triggers and the thumbsticks. And not enough people are going to be buying this controller for this feature to even be noticed, talked about positively, or receiving public praise. Also, they mentioned 20 hours of battery life. However, on the box showed separate battery lifetimes for the 2.4 gigahertz dongle and Bluetooth. So I guess they just averaged them out here and said, yeah, 20 is a good even number. Unfortunately, I just don't feel like this controller is going to be a success because I haven't heard of anybody buying it, and I only bought it to do a review on it. I'm not going to be keeping this thing. I'm not a mobile phone gamer. And for PC, there are far better options out there. For example, if you want a PC-only controller, the Vader 2 and Vader 2 Pro by FlyDigi are really good. Or if you already own an Xbox controller, you plug that into your PC lickety-split, lick the clit, and it works no problem. So I just don't really see this being a recommend for me because nobody really needs it. If you enjoyed the video, liking it helps it to get seen by more gamers. This information will reach and assist them as well, which in turn helps me grow this little channel, which I do greatly appreciate. Subscribe for more content like this. I cover news in the gaming community and industry, tutorials helping you get set up streaming and YouTubing, as well as honest gaming product reviews, keyboards, mice, headsets, controllers, mics, chairs, etc. There are some hefty exclusive discount codes found only in the description of my videos and only for the audience here at Gamer Heaven. Check out Into the AM for some of the sickest looking and most comfortable cloth to ever grace my gaming giblets. If you don't want to be scorching your corneas with harmful blue light, check out Gamer Advantage, the only blue light glasses on the market that look sexy and actually work. If you're looking for a custom controller that'll blow the competition's tits back, AIM definitively has the best bang for buck or price to performance when it comes to Xbox, PlayStation, and Switch controllers. Nope, they don't do Switch, but they do gaming mice. I said doo-doo. I have links to all my other platforms and socials in the description below. If you need a quick laugh or blast of gamer adrenaline, check my short form videos out at TikTok. To get in touch with myself and the stallions and stallionettes of Gamer Heaven, join the community Discord, and check me out at twitch.tv where I go live every other leap year on a blue moon if it falls into an odd calendar number and my pH balance is on point. Just kidding, starting June I'm going to be live streaming a lot. Thanks for watching. This has been AK40 Kevin hosting Gamer Heaven, and I'll see you tomorrow because I upload daily, all the time, 60% of the time, sometimes, most of the time. Peace.